Hello and welcome to another grammar lesson. Today we'll be covering a little bit of grammar and some language functions. Let's get started. Our lesson today is going to be started with the causative. Do you know anything about the causative? Let me tell you something from the name. Someone causes something to happen. Basically, we use the causative when we have someone do something for us. So the subject causes something to happen but didn't do it himself or herself. That's all there is to it. Let's look at some examples to make sure that you understand it well. This is John. Now, John had a flat tire. If I say, John fixed his tire, what does it mean? Or John changed his tire. It means that John is the one who changed the tire. But if I say, John had his tire changed, what's the difference? Do you notice a difference between these two sentences? Well, I'm sure you're correct. John had his tire changed means that someone else changed it for him. Maybe a technician, someone he found on the road, his brother, anyone. So this is basically the causative. Let's see how the causative is formed. Any regular sentence in English grammar starts with the subject, verb, object, but not the causative. It starts with the subject, have, plus the object, plus the verb in the past participle. Easy enough? Let's see how this works. Remember we talked about John? John didn't repair the tire himself would be John had his tire repaired. See how that works? That's the causative. Let's look at another example. This is Tom. He's sitting on a sofa. Someone is taking his picture. So is he going to take his own photo? No. Tom isn't going to take his own photo. Tom is going to have his photo taken. This is the causative form. Now you may be wondering, why are some sentences with have? Why are some with going to have? And why are some with has? Well, here's the trick. The tense of have is based on the tense of the verb in the sentence. This is what you need to know about the causative. You need to know the equation, the formula, which is subject plus have plus object plus verb in past participle. And you need to know that the tense of have is based on the tense of the verb in the sentence. Easy. Let's look at some more examples. Here we have a sentence. The painter paints Sarah's room. Now here is a sentence. If I ask you who painted the room, would you answer Sarah or the painter? Obviously, the painter is the one who painted it. If I'm going to be using the causative to talk about Sarah, I would say, Sarah has her room painted. I started with my subject, who is Sarah. I chose has because the verb in the original sentence is in the present tense. The painter paints. So I used has. And I used has, not have, because Sarah is singular. Sarah has her room painted. Notice that painted, the verb is in the past participle. Let's look at another example. We have here, the painter is painting Sarah's room. Notice how the tense of the verb changed. The painter is painting Sarah's room. Again, because have is based on the tense of the verb in the original sentence, it's going to change. So what will the answer be? Sarah is having her room painted. Notice how the tense of have changes according to the sentence. It's like they mirror each other. Let's look at another example. The painter was painting Sarah's room. Now, notice it was painting. So what will it be? Sarah, was having her room painted. This is as easy as it can get. You have the equation, try to fill it in and change the tense of have accordingly. Another example, I'm sure you're eager to learn more about it. The painter painted Sarah's room. Now the tense here is in the past. So what will I do? I'm going to say Sarah had her room painted. Very easy. It might get a little bit tricky, but if you're not, let's look at it a little bit step at a time. The painter will paint Sarah's room. So let's look at the tense of the verb. Will and paint. This is what we're going to be working with. Let's use the causative. Sarah will have her room painted. The painter will paint Sarah's room. It will be Sarah will have her room painted. Very easy. Let's look at one more example with the tense changing. The painter will be painting. The painter will be painting. What will the answer be? Sarah will be having her room painted. Notice how it works. It's just a matter of mirroring the examples. Now, I'll give you a tough one. The painter had painted Sarah's room. What will the answer be? Now, this may get confusing, but try to use the equation and change the tense accordingly. The painter had painted Sarah's room. So it will be Sarah had her room painted. Yes, in fact, we can use had in this case. Let's give you one exercise to make sure that you got the answer correctly. I am going to have my order, within 2 days. What will you choose? Deliver, delivered, delivers, or delivering? I'm going to have my order. Remember, in the equation, the verb is always in the past participle. So the answer is going to be excellent, delivered. Let's look at another example. He has had his food, by a famous chef. Remember the equation. We already used have and the verb. He has had. So the other part of the sentence would be the verb in the past participle, which would be prepared. Excellent. Now, we're going to do a workbook exercise. This exercise is on page 62. It's exercise 3. Please, I advise you to listen to my instructions, pause the video, attempt to do the exercise yourself, and then come back to check the answers. This is what you have to do. Complete these sentences using the correct form of having something done. Having something done is basically the causative. You may also have to think of a verb. So the verb may not be there for you, so you have to come up with one. Pause the video and then come back to check your answers. So let's check if your answers are correct. Let's look at A. I couldn't repair my computer myself. I had to, by a computer expert. What was your answer? Let's check it. I had to have it repaired. Excellent. You can write, I had to have it fixed. I had to have it repaired. I had to have it formatted, as long as you wrote have it or have my computer and then the verb in the past participle. Let's look at B. We did not build our own house. So they did not build the house. We're going to be using build. This is our verb. We had it built by a local construction company. Excellent. Let's look at C. People don't service their cars themselves. So here, what verb are we going to be using? We're going to be using service because people don't service their cars themselves. They have their cars serviced or they have them serviced professionally. Excellent. Let's look at D. Do you like this photo of our family? We buy a local photographer. Obviously, because we went to a photographer, did we take the picture ourselves? No. So we can say we had it taken. Excellent. This brings us to the second part of grammar. We'll be looking at use and used to. Very simple. We use and used to when we're talking about past actions or actions that happened in the past habits that we no longer have or no longer do. For example, if you have short hair now, but you used to have long hair, you would say, I used to have long hair, but now I have short hair. That's when you use and used to. But when do I use used to and when do I use used to? Let's see. If we're talking in the affirmative, which means I'm going to say I used to. I'm talking about a habit in the past or a past habit. For example, when I was a child, my father used to take me to school. See, we just simply use used to with the. However, if I'm using it in the negative form, then I would use it with the auxiliary verb do. I didn't use to go to school. If I decide to use it in the negative form, I'm going to remove the because I replaced it with the negative auxiliary form in the past. I didn't. I can't say I don't used to because I'm talking in the past. It always has to be did. Let's look at another example. If I'm talking or I'm asking you a question, I will also use it without the da. Did you used to go to school when you were younger with your family or at the primary stage? Did you used to? If you use it in the question form, please remove the da and just use it with the auxiliary do or did. Now we're ready to answer some questions. Open your workbook to page 63 and now we'll be doing exercise 5. Follow the same steps. Pause the video after the instructions, answer the exercise, and then check your answers. Read the sentences below. Insert the correct phrase from the box and correct any incorrect quantifiers. We have used to have, it's written twice. We have used to earn and used to eat. Now it's time to check your answers. I what? A little money, but now I earn a lot. Obviously, it's going to be what? I used to earn a little money, but now I earn a lot. Let's look at B. I what? A few friends. Now I have too many. The trick is in the answer. The answer is in the question. There is no trick here. Just try to find it. I what? A few friends. Now I have too many. So obviously, we're going to be using I used to have. See? Have and have. Let's look at C. I what? Too much fatty food. Now I eat lots of salad. What? Obviously, now I eat. I'm going to say I used to eat. And the last one here. I what? Too much free time. Nowadays, I don't have any. And obviously, the answer is very, very clear. I used to have. This brings us to the suffixes. When do we use the suffixes? We use the suffixes to change the form or the parts of speech. For example, if you have a noun, you can change it to an adjective to a noun, and vice versa, by adding few letters at the end of the word. Why? Instead of using lots and lots of words, we just want to add 1 or 2 letters to make it easier and more comprehensible. Let's look at some examples of suffixes. We have full. When you add full at the end of the sentence, it means full of. So if I say, be careful, what do I mean? You have to be full of care, to take more care into doing something. If I say less, I mean without. If I describe someone, he is careless, he is less of care. He doesn't have any care. He's very careless. I'm describing him. Here are some examples of suffixes you can use. You can use iced, ness, meant, ship, able, full, and less. Remember, some suffixes change words into nouns. For example, iced. If I say this is a modernized building, he is full of happiness. These are the examples in front of you. Let's take a look at this table and try to do it together. See how we're going to be changing from verb to noun to adjective to adverb. Very easy. Let's look at the first one. Our adjective is happy. If I want to change it into a noun, I would add s and I would say happiness. Notice if I add li at the end, it would be happily. So it's the same word, happy as an adjective, happiness as a noun, and happily as an adverb. The same thing goes with socialization. Socialize is the verb, socialization is the noun, social is the adjective, and socially is the adverb. All you need to know is just get familiar with them and keep going. Now, you have an exercise in your workbook. In your student's book, open it to page 71, attempt exercise 1, and then come back to check your answers. Let's check if you got them correct. Our what was put to the test last summer after we had a huge row. What do you think the answer is? Excellent, our friendship. Let's check the next one. I find watching sports very enjoyable. It gives me great enjoyment and happiness. Excellent. Let's check C. Some pastimes are not fashionable anymore. And D. The broken limb must be what? Must be immobilized and the patient be given careful attention. And the last one here, he always tried his hardest and was tireless in his efforts. I'm sure you got it correctly and you did a great job. Now it's time to move on to the functions. Remember, when we talked about functions, all you have to do is to put yourself in the situation itself. Remember to think what you would say in that situation, how you would respond to that action, put yourself in that exact situation, and write a full, accurate sentence. Let's get started. The situation is, your sister says that it's better to reuse old buildings than building new ones. My advice to you is to imagine what she would say. So she'd say, I think using old buildings is better than using new ones. How would you respond? You can respond by either giving examples, agreeing, or expressing opinion. Giving examples by saying, yes, there is a building in our area that is being used as a museum. Or you can agree, I think you're right. I love that idea. Express your opinion. In my opinion, this is a good idea. In my opinion, this is not a very nice or very good idea. See how that works. This brings us to the second example. For most people, old times seem always better than the present. So someone's telling you, oh, the old times are so much better than now. How would you respond? You can either express preference. I prefer the present time. Or I prefer the past times. You can agree. I agree with you. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. I have another opinion. Or you can compare. In the past, there were many lovely activities, but nowadays we have even nicer ones. Or I think the past times are better than the present times. And that's all there is to it. See how easy that was. This brings us to the end of our episode. In this episode, we covered a number of things. We talked about the causative, we talked about use and used to, and we talked about suffixes. We also took a look at language functions and how to tackle them. Thank you for watching.